what's going on, everybody? Kevin with Guard Defense Solutions. So I wanted to make a quick video talking about training and how important that I believe training is. And I don't want to get lost in the semantics of vocabulary, but is there a difference between learning and training? And I personally think there is. And I think to do well in any kind of self-defense or subject control and law enforcement, having those skills, I think, is very important that you get both the education and training. I say all the time, you can't expect a trained response from an untrained person. That can't be the expectation, that you've never done this before and then just magically one day you'll need those skills, be it a firearm, be it empty hand self-defense, be it whatever, and they're just going to be there. It requires learning a skill and then training the skill. Often I see people saying, yeah, we trained on or an example, in the law enforcement community, they talk about, oh, we get this 4-hour block of training for the year, or twice a year, or 3 times a year. And that 4-hour block, I don't know that I would call that training. And again, we could get lost in the semantics of the vocabulary, but just hang with me here and I'll explain what I mean. I think those blocks are it's more of the education, right? And that's step one of the whole process. You need the education, but that's not training. Training is the part that puts it ingrained in you. It makes it ready for you to reach into and tap into at a moment's notice whenever a situation may arise. The other day, Dean and I met at our at work, at our place, at our police department, and it was before our shift, and I went in to work out, and we had some business stuff to discuss, so we agreed to meet there, and we were in our little gym area, and a high-ranking officer saw us in there, and he had stepped in to converse for a little bit, and he came in and he was telling Dean that he observed body cam footage of a use of force that he was recently in, and he was very complimentary, and he told Dean, he said, hey, that was one of the best use of forces that I've seen ever that I've ever seen. And Dean's response was spot on. He said it was the training. What you saw was training kicking in, and that's the proper response, because what happened was a situation took place. It happened right now, and his training kicked in. And Dean kind of humbly wasn't even taking credit for what took place at the use of force. However, he was giving credit to himself, not arrogantly, but he was saying, hey, look, I put in the time, the effort, and the training to make that a trained response. He had a trained response to a given circumstance, and it worked out really, really well. And it worked out good for the person that he had to put his hands on, and it worked out for him, and everybody was safe, and that was because he was well trained. So not only was he well educated, he took those lessons, right, the education, but he put them into play, and he trained them or practiced them or whatever word you want to use, but he made them automatic. It was his automatic response to a given circumstance. There's a guy named Saulo Ribeiro, and he's a legendary Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, if you're not in the black belt world, and he has a saying, and I'm going to give you as close as version as I can off the top of my head. So if there's some BJJ geeks out there and they're like, oh, you misquoted him, man, you got it out of order, but he says something to the effect that if you think, you're late. If you're late, you muscle. If you muscle, you tire, and if you tire, you die, right? So let's break that down for a second. What he's saying is the education is there within Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like if you've been training a little bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but if you've not trained it to be automatic, you have to think about what to do. If you have to think about what to do, now the opportunity is a little bit late. Now you're trying to muscle it. Now it's all muscle instead of technique. If you're muscling it, now you get tired because it's inefficient. You've lost the training point. So now you're inefficient. So you're just trying to do it by all muscle. And if you muscle, you get tired. And if you get tired, you die. And so I think what he's talking about there is the principle that I'm trying to discuss, is that it comes within the training. So you got to show up and you got to take the class. You got to learn that arm bar, right? You got to learn that. That's the lesson. That's step one. But then you have to train the arm bar. There's a thing I say all the time, the thing that separates skill levels within the fighting world is timing, efficiency, and pressure. It's not always education. A lot of times I know the exact same thing that my opponent knows. It's just who has the better timing, efficiency, and pressure. Well, how do I obtain those timing, efficiency, and pressure? It's through training. It's through the practice. It's through the hours. It's through the mat time. And so I just really want to discuss that topic and that point, and make sure everybody understands that it's so awesome that you've gone and gotten this training or this lesson, but without the practice, without the time, you're not training. So I'm not arguing semantics of the vocabulary of like I got a 4-hour block of training, but did you really get 4-hour block of training, or did you get lessons that you must take now and then put them, apply them over and over and over, so they become automatic? This is true no matter if it is self-defense for a civilian, the women's self-defense, weapons, subject control. It's a two-step process. You got to obtain the lesson, and then you got to train it. Dean and I got into this we started the whole company about putting out lessons. We teach. We don't necessarily train, we teach. When you show up to our women's self-defense or a subject control for law enforcement, it's 3 days, it's tons of material. We rep it out, we try to put it in instill that into you. But realistically, without training, if you never touch that again, is that information going to be there? Is it going to be your natural response 6 months from now when you're on your back at 2 in, or you're at the ATM and somebody's got you by the neck, or you're a female and you're in a situation where a man is got his hands on you? Is it going to be automatic, or are you going to go back to Salo's thing? Now I have to think about it. Now I'm late. Now the opportunity's gone. Now I have to muscle this thing. I've lost the technique, right? So training is really, really important. I talk about it all the time to make it when I teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I use the analogy of like you're driving down the road and you're driving, beep bop boom, and a dog runs out in front of you. If I had to use my think, right? If I had to use my brain, and I have to think, take your foot off the gas pedal, apply the brake, steer away. Well, I've already plowed through the dog into the retention pond. It's lights out, the moment's over. It doesn't happen. Typically, my brain doesn't even catch up to that moment until after it happens. You have that adrenaline dump, but boom, the foot just reacts. I hit the brake, done, stop the car, I was swerved around, and it's all because it's automatic, right? This thing is just instilled in us. We've done this thing so many times that my body is ready to respond. So anyway, kudos to anybody out there seeking out a better education, but it's a two-step process. It's awesome that you went and took that lesson. It's awesome that you went and took that women's self-defense class, or you took that handgun 101 course, or you took a subject control course. You showed up at a guard seminar, or anything. Depends on where you are in the country. That's great. That's step one. But step two is you have to go train it. So when I say, are we overusing the word training, I hear everybody refer to it as like, yeah, we went and trained, or hey, what kind of training do you guys provide? Well, the training is the work. It's very, very important. Anyway, I just wanted to share my thoughts on how important it is. It's a two-step process. Hopefully you're doing at least one. You should be doing both. And if you're not doing neither, man, get out there, make yourself, you got to be able to protect yourself, protect your family. If you're in law enforcement, you got to have that training, you got to have those lessons, you got to have the education. It's got to be applicable. It's got to be right here on hand. This isn't something you can look up in a book later, after the fact, okay? So it's very, very important. These are my thoughts, these are my opinions. Tell me what you think. Leave a comment in the section below. Am I way off? Do you agree? I think they're both important. So, as always, Please, if you could support us, if you feel so kindly to do so, hit that like button. It really helps us out. Hit subscribe, turn the notification bell on. You can buy our t-shirts on the website, www.garddefense.com. We have 2 different types, the politely mannered, violently educated. Swing on there and get yourself a shirt. And as always, guys, stay safe. Thank you so much.